Hello, everybody. This is Jack Maseko with Moving into the Future. I'm happy to say we have our first guest today, and it's Anthony Parziale, president of the Advanced Group. Anthony, thanks for joining us today. It's nice to have you. I'm really excited to talk. This is definitely a new dynamic for the Moving into the Future podcast, a monumental day, if you will. So thanks for coming.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Jack.
Background for our listeners, Anthony is the president of the Advanced Group. He's built this ship. He's steering this ship. He's done a great job since the day I met him. I've been impressed and really have enjoyed working for him. So it's going to be excited to hear more. Today we're going to discuss a little brief history of the Advanced Group, how Anthony got here, and then we're going to delve right into part two of the return to office segment that we're talking about. Anthony's going to give us a different point of view and how he is communicating with C-level executives and some of the accounts that we've had for a while and how that's operating. And then we're going to go into the more global perspective of all of this and how we're really building our national accounts division out to service these various clients and things of that nature. So let's get right into it. Anthony, so prior to the Advanced Group, you were in the furniture business, correct?
Correct.
Right.
I sold office furniture and was doing that for a few years. The company I represented at the time, I got to the position of sales manager. Always had a knack for sales, and office furniture was, a good business for me at the time.
Right. Yeah. Right, back in the 90s, all of those cubicles.
Late 90s.
File cabinets, cubicles, very bulky back then.
Yep, and at the time, certainly in the late 90s with the big .com boom,
right.
It was like opportunity everywhere.
Yeah.
So a lot of growth, a lot of new companies coming on board. It was a good time for the city. And it was a fun time in my life also.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. That's great. And then it was 2002 where you got to the Advanced Group?
Well, actually it was 2001 I started with the Advanced Group. I met Jim Malloy, the CEO, around somewhere in, I want to say, early 2000. We were introduced by a mutual friend, and we were part of the same networking group at the time.
Oh.
And Jim and I would network together, and being in similar industries, Jim being in the moving business, me being in the furniture business, we had a lot to talk about, a lot of opportunities to share. I think we had lunch pretty regularly, I would say, probably, maybe once or twice every couple of months. And, there was a connection there.
Yeah.
It was a special connection, and after probably meeting with Jim over the course of 6-7 months, actually closer to a year probably, before Jim offered me an opportunity to join his company. And, at the time it was a pretty difficult decision for me because I was doing pretty well in furniture, wasn't looking for a job. And there was just something special about it, that I said, Jim seemed to be, a very stand-up, very trustworthy guy. He had a nice company. There was definitely synergies between the two businesses, and I decided to join him. And the rest is 20 years in the rearview mirror,
right?
And still going.
Yeah.
So very exciting.
What was your vision? Because you were doing well.
Sure.
You had a cushy job. Mm-hmm. When you came on board, what was the vision here? What did you want to do?
Well, it was interesting. At the time when I came on board, the company was a much smaller company at the time. Probably half of its business was in the household moving business, half of it in the commercial moving business. It was just myself and maybe two other commercial salespeople. So, the first few years I was, very hungry. I'm still very hungry and ambitious,
That's
trying to grow the business. But, back then, being very young, I was trying to get my feet wet. I was trying to learn from more senior level people, and I remember, starting in the business, I was, maybe 26 years old, you always want those big opportunities.
Oh, yeah.
When you're young, you don't want to be told you're young, but you have to put your time in. You have to get your gray hairs, as they say.
Tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, tough pill to swallow, to wait. But it was back then looking it didn't take that long to really get some momentum going. Our business, our industry had a little different, synergy in the New York marketplace. It was more challenging for companies like us to do some of the bigger business, at the time. But we had our fair share of it. So, my vision at the time, it was hard to say. I mean, at the time I was trying to build as much business,
right,
meet as many new people as I could, and try and just, understand the business, learn it.
right.
So that took a few years and was exciting to me.
Yeah. And, the best way to, what I've found, and I'm sure you did too, the best way to learn this business is to, get as many of those big jobs as you can and do your best with them.
Sure.
And, you learn a lot of different dynamics and, whether it's the furniture aspect, the moving aspect, the IT aspect.
Sure.
Now we're in a position as a company where we offer all of those things.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that because back then we were basically just commercial moving and storage.
Right.
And as time progressed and I got some more experience and I was having some successes, I realized there was a tremendous opportunity to diversify. So I guess the two things that really stood out to me was the opportunity to diversify, in related services of what we perform. And I was looking to grow a sales team. I realized that, I had an opportunity. I was doing very well. My formula worked with how we acquired new business. I wanted to look for some talented salespeople, people that I could groom in the business, people to do things, my way, and perhaps learn a little bit from some people. So I think, over time, over the next 10 years, from 2001 till about, actually a little less than that, till about 2009 or so, it was basically just me, pounding the pavement with a couple of other salespeople at the company. And I decided to go out and start looking to recruit salespeople. And, roll the clock forward, I built a sales team of about, 15 individuals, all very knowledgeable. Some have very specific, segments of the business that they specialize in. And it's allowed us to grow substantially and also diversify what we sell.
Certainly. So. And, that's what impressed me most about the company when I came on board was the diversity in what we offer, all under one roof. It as somebody who is on the end user side, I see how valuable it is to work for a company like that. So and here we are currently, and I don't think either of us, when we were meeting in December or February, whenever it was, thought we'd be in this position where we're working from home and there's so many employees who I haven't even met yet.
Yeah.
So, we've been talking about now, finally, we're in a position where we're starting to see companies start to plan for their return to office. And, as an executive who deals with other executives and also knows our bigger accounts and, things that I'm not attached to, what have you've been seeing from inside the New York market, and what is your forecast? What do you believe is going to happen in the near future?
Sure. Well, I think there's still some confusion out there. I think there's still a big hole in terms of executives not really having a detailed plan of bringing people back to the office. I think it's still a lot of speculation and uncertainty. It's a change. Our business was totally disrupted. The whole economy was disrupted. And, when you shut an economy down and try and turn that switch on, it's not so easy to do. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of different, things that are in the mix, and then you add employees' emotions into the mix. It's a pretty big challenge. So what I hear going on, and what I forecast that's gonna happen, I think, certainly in our New York City market, I'm thinking after the summer, September, I think some companies have announced they're going to start bringing people back, in a smaller percentage, whether it's 25% or so, start bringing them back to the office. And I think there should be some momentum going into 2022. I think with the vaccine rolling out, I think people are going to have more confidence getting back to work. I think there's a lot of staff that, doesn't like this whole work from home mentality. It's a bit distracting. It's a bit disjointed. A lot of the creativity and strategizing that's done when you're in the workplace, it's a lot. There's only so much you can do on a Zoom call.
Right. Exactly.
So I think people are, certainly getting tired of the work from home, and I think people are looking to come back to the office.
And based on what we were talking about before, as far as the advanced group having so many different, being so diverse in what we have to offer, how do you think we're positioned in terms of helping these companies, and where do you see us being most valuable to these companies?
Well, I think we could serve a couple of different, purposes to companies that are rolling back. First of all, we could help them with the plan. There's a lot that goes into the planning, in terms of what this workplace is now going to look like. What do they need to do to get their offices configured properly? We've been doing reconfigurations, moves, adds, and changes for decades.
I'm glad people are hearing this from somebody other than me.
Yeah, this is nothing new to our company. It's like anything else. Sometimes there's new buzzwords created, new terms that are used in the industry. Return to office, obviously, is a term that who thought in our lifetime we'd ever be saying something like that.
Right.
So it's just a different package. The question is going to be each company, what works for them and their staff? How do they want their office to look? Where do they think, between when you look at the amount of people that work in an office, you have even offices pre-COVID, you had your permanent staff, you had hoteling staff, people that were coming in and out that just plug into any station. Benching was a big thing prior to COVID, where people were sitting side by side and across from each other, and it was, you'd fill the office with, one floor had 600 people sometimes.
Right.
So those days I think are definitely going to be over, and I think companies are going to look at this as a combination. I don't think people are going to come back to the office permanently out the gate. I think there's a combination of work from home, work in the office. They're going to have alternating days where, some staff comes in Monday, Wednesday, Friday, others Tuesday, Thursday, then maybe flip-flop. But, they're going to, distancing is still going to be a big part of this whole thing for, I think, quite a long time.
A couple years. Yeah.
So,
and especially like at different times of the year, like, obviously, I think we've seen, COVID obviously has its time where it spikes during the colder seasons. Sure. And me and Lisa were talking about it last episode. You referenced it in terms of what I think we're going to see is a lot of companies and employees get into habits of how they work. So we they'll know our team is always in the office on such and such days from such and such times. And, with new software that's being offered, they'll be able to gain data into when, where the hot spots are, and, how employees are utilizing the space. Are we seeing different conference rooms getting utilized, where the 3 to 4 person conference rooms are getting used all the time, but our 12-person conference rooms aren't getting used anymore. So we're going to create more, smaller conference rooms, and that's where the advanced group can help in that, as far as reconfiguring and rearranging that furniture. And then on top of that, when are the times where we're seeing a shift in the employees coming in and out? And in between those times, can we get a cleaning crew in there to, sanitize desks and stuff like that? And again, that's where we can help. So it's it is going to be very interesting. It's going to be very fluid. We were talking about it. There is no secret sauce to this. There's no right answer right now. So it's really going to be customized to employees, to companies. And, that's where we can help. We can talk about our best practices and what we're seeing, across our, different clients' portfolios, because with the National Accounts Division, we do aim to do work globally and nationally. And we may find, too, certain things working in certain markets aren't working in others. I'd like to talk about that because it was interesting when we thought about it. We were talking about this National Accounts Division for like a year before I came on board.
Correct.
We planted the seed, I think it was in like February 2019. And, just because of my commitments to my last companies and stuff like that, I wasn't prepared to leave, and you were very patient with me, which I always appreciated. And then on top of that, you got me on board right when the pandemic hit, which was also very well appreciated, because, that could have gone sideways so many different ways. But, I think Jeff proposed the idea of a national accounts division to you initially. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Right.
He did. It was something I've been thinking about, but Jeff kind of accelerated.
As he tends to do.
Yeah, he does. he does. It's one of the things he does. But and I think it was the right move. I think he was definitely onto something there. And I think look, we have a lot going for us. We have a lot of resources here at the Advance Group. One of our biggest resources is that we're a founding member and owner of OMA, the Office Moving Alliance, which is a company made up of companies like us, serving in every major market in the world, and it allows us, the Advance Group, to basically present ourselves to our client and offer that one-stop shop of services for all of their offices, all over the globe, both nationally and internationally, and it's a lot of vetted companies that are part of OMA, typically the best of the best in their markets, which allows us to provide that top-level service to our clients, where the client still has that one-stop shop, that one direct point of contact,
right,
and allows us to oversee the whole project from the project management side through the completion and execution of the labor to get companies moved or reconfigured in their offices.
Right.
So,
because let's talk about that too. That's actually where we first met, was through the Office Moving Alliance. When I was working in tech, there was an opportunity for OMA, and I believe at that point, OMA was relatively young at that point.
They were young. We still were formalizing,
right,
what OMA was going to be, but we were certainly onto something. And we, even back then, we certainly had the resources to provide the service.
Of course.
It was more or less getting the comfort level of how we were going to present this and package this to our clients and provide them with the proper resources that they need.
Right.
So.
Exactly. And what drew you to, the idea of OMA initially? Who came to you on that? Was it Doug directly, or did you get put in touch with Doug? How did that work?
There was a gentleman in the moving industry, actually, who was in New York, Bob Konsalik, who was in business in New York, who was the brainchild of this thing, who brought a lot of the founding members together that would allow us to form OMA. I mean, it was a brilliant idea at the time. What
year was this? Do you know?
This had to be back, I want to say, mid-2000s. Yeah. I want to say around, maybe 2007 or 8 or somewhere around that time. And the great thing I loved about it in the beginning, OMA serves many different purposes, As a business executive, running a company like ours, it allows me to share best practices with other people that are doing the same thing I'm doing.
Right.
So
which
there's
is very
a lot
important.
of that give and take, which helps make us, it raises our quality,
right,
raises our ability to do business. And if you ask me our vision today, I mean, I want to continue to grow, and I want to provide, first class, second to nobody type quality service.
That's why I'm working here.
Yeah, there you go. So, and being a fairly young guy still myself, certainly not as young as you, Jack, but, compared to my peers, I would still be considered young. There's still a lot for me to learn from these folks. I mean, these guys have done a lot. They've been through it all, and,
yeah,
never stop learning.
That's exactly true. I don't know if Jeff told you, but I had a conversation with Mike Manette for like an hour and a half on Saturday.
Okay.
And he is our partner in the
Texas,
Texas area, Move Solutions.
Yeah.
And he's a wealth of knowledge, and especially me being very young, I have a ton to learn, just like you. And when you have these partners to rely on in different markets, not just nationally, but globally too, with some of our clients, we've done projects in India and in Singapore and, a couple spots in Europe where, we're partnered with some very prominent companies there. It's great to make those connections and work together. They are impressive. Our partner in Singapore, I believe it's Asian Tigers, they were so efficient and so well communicated, and really just did this exceptional job for our clients there. And even in India too, this is one of our new OMA partners. And, the way that we're able to go in there and communicate with the client, take that information, communicate it to our local OMA partner, and then combine it all to execute this work. It's impressive. And I've said it before, it does take a village for this to be successful.
Sure it does.
And,
Sure it does.
we definitely got a good village going with OMA. I've been impressed with it from way before I started working at the Advanced Group, because what I think its most important function is you're dealing with companies that have brick and mortar locations, in all of these cities. We're never scrambling to find work in these cities or
Correct. One thing I'm going to add to that, not only are they brick and mortar in these cities, these are vetted companies.
Right.
Big difference.
Right. You're right.
OMA's standards are tremendously high. Some companies that, offer a sales and project management service and then are relied upon to hire these companies, there's not a vetting process. You don't know who's doing the work on the other side. With OMA, there's an extensive vetting process before somebody is able to become a member of OMA, and it allows us to provide that high quality service to the client, with that owner to owner communication.
Exactly.
I pick up the phone and I call one of the owners at one of our partners, and vice versa. We jump.
Right.
We jump, and you get quality and you get responsiveness, and things happen.
Yep. Yep. And especially, in this time that we're entering, where employee travel for things like office facilities work, when I was in tech, I was traveling all over the place. You could see that scaled back a little bit in the future. And that's where, working with a company like the Advanced Group can be so valuable, because you have somebody who can be relied upon in these markets without you being there, because of the way we communicate and because of our, vetted partners that we have in these markets to perform these different services, not just moving, furniture installations, IT services, whatever it may be. I think it's going to be incredibly valuable, and especially, as these companies return to work. What type of projects have you been seeing? Has it been a lot of, like, for me and my business, I've been seeing a lot of like the packing right now and moving, IT internally and kind of getting these desks set up for hotel seating and stuff like that. Have you been seeing anything different?
No, that's pretty much what I've been seeing. Some decommissioning still is going on. Offices are consolidating or they're shrinking. There are companies out there that think they're going to have more of a work from home long-term plan. Me personally, just knowing what I went through with my own staff working from home, I don't see how that's a long-term solution. It's a very disconnected, productivity definitely goes down, creativity and those sorts of things are it's just not there. It's not the same.
You know what? It's interesting because you've seen a couple of very important and like industry changing events happen. Obviously there is going to be some change that comes of this, specifically between like the flexible working space and working hours, and whether it's 3 days a week in the office and 2 days at home and stuff like that. What happens, I think, with a lot of people in general and companies in general is they become a victim in the moment and they panic. So with all of these decommissions that we're seeing and these liquidations that we're seeing, how do you think that's going to hold up over time? Do you see, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I've seen this cycle go this way a couple of times for different reasons, obviously.
Of course.
I saw similar things happen during the whole 2008, 2011 financial crisis where, companies were either going out of business or shrinking, and there was an abundance of office space, and, decommissioning and move out and that sort of thing was where a lot of the work was coming from. And there wasn't much work during that time to go around, but that was a big part of it. But, I've seen these things, it's all cyclical. It ebbs and flows.
It does.
For different reasons. I do think there's going to be a surge in our business. I'm just not sure when it's going to hit.
Yeah.
I think if I had to pinpoint a guess, I would say sometime in 2022 at this point, I think we're going to see a big surge of changes again, where things start companies start becoming more active. There's a higher percentage of staff working back in the office. You're going to see companies start growing. I mean, look, other than people working from home, I mean, you look at the economy today. If you're going to base the economy off the stock market, I mean,
you had no idea.
You would never think there was any disruption.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's just an amazing time and another unprecedented time that, again, it's hard to really pinpoint this sort of thing.
It is. It is. It's a tough game to forecast right now because, like we've been saying, it's completely unprecedented. Mm-hmm. So I think we had conversations where we kind of thought May, June, July would be that pickup, but again, people are taking their time, which is in some sense good. I mean, we wanted to make sure that we do it right whenever we do get back, because we don't want to go through this entire cycle again. So that's why we've mentioned it already. But coming to a company like us, we'll tell you what we're seeing, and we'll help you navigate these unforeseen waters. And that's what we'll do well with. In terms of more national accounts and what I'm doing too. What are your thoughts on just what we're trying to do here as a whole? I've certainly given mine. Where do you see this national accounts division going to, and how do you think it's going to work best for the Advanced Group?
Well, I mean, I see it. Look, in terms of where it's going, I mean, it's got nowhere to go but up.
Right.
I mean, it's over the years, again, doing national business is not necessarily new to the Advanced Group. We've had clients that we've been able to service in the past with opportunities that were going on outside of our market. The difference is our focus. Now it's a main service line, if you will, that we're focused on growing. We have the resources with our, OMA relationship and being part of that group. And I think it's just another way we can package and become more valuable to our clients. Our clients like that synergy. So if we have a great working relationship with a company that's, based in New York or has a big footprint in New York, we could certainly provide that same level of service outside the market.
Right.
And I think, that's certainly something that our clients are interested in.
I do too. Just in the sense, like we were saying, whether companies are more lean now, where maybe they're not even holding, a large facilities team anymore, and they're choosing to outsource that. Companies like the Advanced Group, and I think we're unique outside of OMA, where we really are, one of the only companies in the New York area, don't quote me on that, but who are really offering it to this type of level. And not only because of our OMA partnership, but, not to toot my own horn, but also my experience on the end user side and that whole understanding of what's going on there. Not many other people have that. And it is so crucial, especially through the moving process where you see so many disconnects happening, between client and mover, where they forget to tell us something, and then there's these change orders and stuff like that. I'm not saying that happens specifically at the Advanced Group. Across the industry, it's just part of our what we do, and we can really protect against that because I know what to look for, when to look for, what questions to ask. It becomes invaluable to our clients in what we're trying to do.
Well, it's funny you say that, Jack, because that was actually one of the qualities that I liked about you that wanted us to hire you.
Yeah.
Having that end user experience, and not just end user experience, you've worked for some major corporations with a tremendous real estate portfolio and a huge number of employees. So your moves, adds, and changes experience, I mean, this is what you did.
Right.
You ran this.
Right.
So, bringing that now from our side and to be able to provide that same level of expertise and experience you have to our clientele, to me, really separates us from a lot of our competition here in New York.
Yeah.
And when you combine that with our, alliance with OMA and our ability to provide these resources in every major market in the world, I mean, I think we're onto something.
I do too. I really do too, and I'm excited to see where it goes. And like I said, we didn't really think it would be a year like this where we've been caught inside the whole time, but we've certainly done our best, and we've definitely seen growth and seen some great opportunities. So I'll be excited to see, not only where the advanced group goes, but also where, these different market grows in different cities, may see growth that the advanced group will have no problem servicing, whether it be, the San Franciscos and LAs of the world, or maybe it's smaller markets like, Columbus or Nashville or a Charlotte like that. We'll be ready to go and ready to operate. Do you think we're going to see more growth? Obviously, I think you share this sentiment. New York City will be fine. I have no doubt about it. New York City is the most important city in the world. It'll be fine. What do you think about these, secondary cities and some of the growth that we might see there?
Well, look at, Texas has been just a boom town over the last few years. I mean, you see a lot of companies from California relocating to Texas as a popular, spot for them. I think there's going to be certain markets in the country that you're going to see, just more companies looking to relocate to because of the appeal that it has,
right,
and the advantages that they could take being in those markets.
Right. I don't even consider Austin a small market anymore. Mm-hmm. I mean, or a mid-sized city. I mean, that city has seen such growth because I used to spend a lot of time there when I was at Indeed, and I was there for like the initial tech boom. And, now I couldn't even imagine going back and seeing what it looks like. But, even though Austin is great, it's still got its problems,
Sure.
And like
most cities do, right?
Right. Of course. And that's what's important. There is like no perfect place for these companies to go. And, again, that's where we can kind of help offer a little insight, which I have before. To companies from a consultative manner, what do you see in these different, cities and the question that we always ask is, what's important to your employees? What are their needs? What do they want? And, we can get them set up. And I think that's so important to know is that we can help set you up. Even if you want to go into a flexible office space, I've done that. And we can get you set up from a network standpoint and an IT standpoint. So we can be very dynamic in our offering. We're getting a little off track here. I just want to close it up with one more return to office question. As far as the advanced group goes, let's hear it from the horse's mouth. How do you plan to manage this return to office and getting everybody back? I think it's important that we hear it from an executive like you.
That's a good point. I mean, look, our office here, our headquarters, we have about, 65 personnel working in our headquarters. In our New Jersey facilities, we probably have another 40 to 50, personnel between our warehouses and our offices. I've started bringing our office staff back to work. Any of our client-facing staff, whether it be, our client coordinators, our, internal marketing personnel, our household division with those customer service folks, I felt the need to start bringing them back. So what we did is we spread out our office. We added larger workspaces. We put up, plastic shields, making higher workstations so people didn't feel like, they were on top of each other. And I've alternated days. I have teams that come in Monday, Wednesday, Friday, others that come in Tuesday, Thursday, flip-flop. I'm still keeping the head count down. Accounting personnel, there's no reason they can't continue to working from home. They're very task-based, so, their workflow is their workflow, so they could do that from home or the office. So I'm trying to just bring back the critical staff that I need to have more interaction with, so that they continue to, keep up with what's going on in the business and, are around. So, we've started that process.
Right.
And I think, it's not easy, getting people back to that work environment, after being away for, a year or more. I mean, it's tough. It's a challenge.
It is. And that's why we're here at the Advanced Group is to help with that and make sure that these companies have one less thing to worry about, or multiple less things to worry about, and that's what we really aim to do is to be that partner and know that they have somebody to rely on, whether it's in the New York market or elsewhere. We'll be here to do the best we can. So, Anthony, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Jack.
No, it's a pleasure. Looking forward to continued growth, and thank you everybody for listening. Our next episode, we'll be talking about part 3 of our return to office, and provide you with the latest news and updates then. We'll talk soon.
Thanks.
Be sure to subscribe to our podcast at theadvancedgrp.com. That's theadvancedgrp.com.